What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday to you. We got a 8-box break of Donruss Baseball 2025. There's a fresh case in front of you. We're going to take 8 boxes out of this fresh case. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, everybody, good luck. Box number 1, here we go. Hope everybody's having a good start to the week. Give those a little turn. All right. Much better. All right, box number 1. Here we go. Box number 1. Good luck. That's Mike Mussina on the green to 149. That is 76 of 149. J.D. Dix for the Diamondbacks on the acetate. That is a green marbles of Jordan Lawler for the Diamondbacks. Green marble. That is Austin Wells for the Yankees. Austin Wells. Andrew Walters on the Optichrome. That is for Cleveland. Rhett Lauder on the Optic. Rhett Lauder Optic. Johnny Bench on the Milestones. That is Caleb Lomavita for the Nationals on the blue. This blue is numbered 59 of 149. 59 of 149. Chase Burns for Cincinnati. Alex Gordon for the Royals. Reggie Jackson on the green sunburst. That is Marcelo Mayer. Billy Amick on the optic. Jake Peavy. Connor Griffin for the Pirates. Ryan Clifford for the Mets. That's Trey Morgan, Tampa Bay. Juan Marshall for the Giants. Mason Wynn for St. Louis. That is Catfish Hunter for the Oakland A's. 84 out of 199. 84 of 199. Griff O'Farrell on the Optichrome. Deion Sanders. Aaron Judge. First auto's coming. We have on the sunburst Eddie Matthews. That's going to the Atlanta Braves. Spencer Jones for the Yankees. Our first auto. Connor Griffin. That's for the Pirates. Connor Griffin for the Pirates on the Optichrome auto. Not numbered. Jim Palmer. Luis Angel Acuna for the Mets. That is Ian Kinsler, Texas. Ethan Salas red. That is for the Padres. 13 of 99. Our next auto. Welben Francesca. That is for the Cleveland Guardians. This is also not numbered. Don Mattingly. Spencer Jones on the Unleashed for the Yankees. Sunburst, that is Cam Smith for Houston. Tink Hence for St. Louis. Jimmy Rollins for the Phillies. That is an Unleashed of Hagen Smith. Hagen Smith, that is 56 of 99. Vance Honeycutt for the Orioles. That is to 250. 27 of 250. Adam Wainwright on the Optichrome. Looks like we have some cracked ice coming. We got Manny Ramirez right there. Tommy White, that's going to Oakland on the green foil. On the sunburst, we got Heston Kjerstad for Baltimore. On the cracked ice, we got Rentaro Sasaki. That is 13 out of 25. Eddie Matthews again for the Braves. We have Slade Caldwell for the Diamondbacks on the Diamond Kings. That is Ethan Anderson for Baltimore, 230 out of 250. Kendall George for the Dodgers. We got our first patch going to Texas. Malcolm Moore. Not numbered on the Jersey King. Heston Kjerstad. Colt Keith. Evan Carter on the foil for Texas. On the orange, that's Chase Burns for Cincinnati, 83 of 199. That, my friends, is box number 1. Box number 2. All right, box number 2. Box number 2. All right, box number 2. Here we go. Ricky Henderson, Spencer Jones. That is Ken Griffey Jr. That is Paul Skeens. Paul Skeens on the pink lasers to 79. Pink lasers to 79. Paul Skeens. That is number 28 out of 79. Yachty. Evan Carter for Texas. Chase DeLauder for Cleveland. There's Owen Cassay. Jeff Bagwell. Mike Schmidt. Braden Montgomery on the Optichrome. Jim Thome. That is a blue blue foil, 26 out of 49 on the Bomb Squad. Chris Davis for Baltimore. That is Chase DeLauder on the green foil, 156 out of 199. Edgar Martinez on the Optichrome. Colt Keith for Detroit on the Marvel. Eddie Matthews on the Sunburst for the Braves. There's Heston Kjerstad on the green Optichrome, 5 out of 149. Mike Piazza for the Dodgers. Debut of Rhett Lauder for the Reds. That's a blue Jake Arrieta. That is 107 out of 149. Walker Jenke for Houston. Our next patch goes to Edwin Encarnacion for the Toronto Blue Jays. Edward Encarnacion, red, 22 out of 99. 22 of 99 going to the Blue Jays. Jimmy Rollins. We got Trevor Hoffman. Sunburst of Manny Ramirez for Red Sox. That is Carter Holton for Atlanta. Our next auto is a Ted Simmons. Ted Simmons, St. Louis Cardinals. That is 27 out of 35 on the Hall of Fame auto. This is a signature series. Ted Simmons, I believe he's a Hall of Famer with the Cardinals. That is Connor Griffin on the orange to 199. 114 out of 199. That is Dalton Rushing for the Dodgers on the acetate. That was an Aaron Judge Elite Series base card. Mike Schmidt on the foil. Luis Angel Acuna for the Mets on the Optichrome. Don Mattingly. That's Jackson Chourio for Milwaukee. That is a red to 250. 11 out of 250. That is Buster Posey for the Giants. J.D. Dix for the Diamondbacks. Tony Perez. That is 79 out of 99. Charlie Condon for the Colorado Rockies on the Unleashed. Excuse me. That is Owen Cassay on the foil for the Cubs. Billy Amick for Minnesota. Buster Posey. Jackson Chourio Elite Series. Albert Pujols on the foil. Christian Moore on the orange to 199 for the Angels. 108 out of 199. And on the cracked ice auto, that is Luis Baez. Excuse me, that is a Pandora auto. Pandora auto of Luis Baez to 25. 3 out of 25 for the Houston Astros. Brooks Lee, Minnesota. That is Charlie Condon, Colorado. Takoa Roby for the Cardinals. Tink Hence for the Cardinals. And that is box number 2. Box number 3. All right, this is box number 3. Box number 3. Willie Stargell. Spencer Jones for the Yankees. That is Rhett Lauder on the Sunburst. That is Slade Caldwell for the Diamondbacks on the red. That is 13 out of 99. Darren Baker. That is for the Nationals. Greetings from Colorado, Chase Dolander. Edgar Martinez. That's Tommy White for the A's. Chipper Jones on the foil. That is Colson Montgomery on the cracked ice. That is 17 out of 25 for the White Sox. '99 out of 199. That is Andrew Jones for the Braves. Charlie Condon for the Rockies. Our next patch goes to Texas. That is Malcolm Moore Malcolm Moore, this one is numbered to 49 on the purple. Purple 13 out of 49. Cliff Lee for Philadelphia. We got Jordan Lawler for the Diamondbacks. That's Carson Bench for the Mets. Brody Breck, Colorado. Chipper Jones. Reggie Jackson on the bomb squad. Purple of Craig Biggio. That is 16 out of 99 for the Houston Astros. Luis Baez on the Optichrome. There's Jim Rice, Red Sox. Austin Wells, Yankees. That is Deion Sanders on the Sunburst. Brock Wilken for Milwaukee. Our next auto is a big one. That is Paul Skeens. Paul Skeens on the auto. That is going to Pittsburgh. This one is not numbered. Nice hit for the Pirates. That is Ryan Braun for Milwaukee. That's Evan Carter, 65 out of 199 on the foil. Edgar Martinez. Deion Sanders on the green. That is to 149, 25 of 149. Our next auto is for Detroit. That's Carson Rucker. Carson Rucker for Detroit, not numbered. Mike Mussina. That is Braden Montgomery on the Unleashed for the White Sox. Where's the 1-of-1 auto? I don't know. I haven't seen one yet. I would love to see one. Travis Bazzana for Cleveland. That's on the Sunburst. That is Christian Moore for the Angels. Bert Campaneris. That is Chase Dollander on the gold to 10. That is 3 out of 10 for the Colorado Rockies. Chase Dollander on the Unleashed. That's Pudge Rodriguez, 44 out of 199 on the green. Willie Stargell on the Optichrome. How you doing, Mark Star? I'm doing well, my friend, doing well. Cooper Pratt on the orange. Cooper Pratt to 199. 108 to 199. Noble Mayer for the Miami Marlins. That is on the acetate. Jack Morris milestones. Cliff Lee on the foil. Darren Baker on the Optichrome. Jacob Wilson. Yeah, it is a nice schemes. Whoever's got the Pirates, they'll be happy. Christian Campbell for the Red Sox on the Elite Series. That is Colin Hawk for the Mets. On the red, that is 73 of 250. Dalton Rushing for the Dodgers. There's Kumar Rocker. On Gary Sheffield for the Mets on the green Sunburst. That is P.J. Morlando for Miami. Carson Williams for Tampa Bay. That was box number 3. Box number 4. All right, box number 4. Here we go. Box number 4. Prince Fielder. That is Noble Mayer on the orange. That is 63 of 199. Reggie Jackson. Connor Griffin for Pittsburgh. Jacob Mizrowski for Milwaukee. Cole Young for Seattle. Mariano Rivera. Mason Wynn on the Marvels for St. Louis. 146 out of 149. That's Ian Kinsler for Texas. Chase Dollander on the Optichrome. Bobby Miller, Aaron Judge. That is Nolan Ryan to 250, 178 out of 250. Jim Palmer on the Optichrome. Jackson Churio, Braylon Payne. Sunburst of Don Mattingly for the Yankees. That is John Smoltz on the pink lasers to 79, 45 of 79. Hurston Waldrop for Atlanta. We got Matt Shaw for the Cubs on the coming attractions. Roger Clemens, Marvels of Colt Keith. That's Boston Bateman for the Padres, 86 of 199. Enrique Bradfield Jr. Behind that we have our next patch. I believe this is to 25. I saw blue. It is to 25. That is Dylan Cruz for Washington. 8 out of 25 on the 4-color patch. Red, blue, white, red. Beautiful patch. Dylan Cruz, Washington Nationals. Jim Palmer on the Sunburst for the Orioles. Jesus Made for Milwaukee. Our next auto is a purple auto for the Texas Rangers. That's Jack Leiter. Jack Leiter, 11 out of 25. Jack Leiter for the Texas Rangers. Nice auto. Leo Tavares to 199 orange, 6 out of 199. Spencer Jones on the acetate for the Yankees. Johnny Bench. There's Pudge on the foil. Alex Gordon on the Optichrome. Aaron Judge, Luis Angel Acuna, Mets. That is Braden Sprout for the Mets. Brandon Sprout. That is 190 out of 250. Theo Gillen. Our case hit, Night Moves, goes to the Los Angeles Angels. That is Christian Moore on the Night Moves, case hit for the Angels. Nice hit for the Angels spot. Greg Maddux. That is a Leo Tavares on the green foil Sunburst. Foil Boston Bateman for the Padres. Padres. Kevin Alcantara for the Cubs. Eddie Matthews for the Braves. Adam Wainwright for the Cardinals. Ozzie Smith on the foil. That is Chipper Jones on the purple. Chipper Jones on the purple, I believe that's to 99. It's to 49. 24 of 49. Then we got a purple auto of Ryan Clifford for the Mets. Purple auto, Ryan Clifford for the Mets. 21 of 49. 21 of 49. Manny Ramirez, Sebastian Walcott for Texas. On the Sunburst, we got Bryce Rainier for Detroit. Gerangelo Cinche for Seattle. James Wood. Unleashed. This one is blue to 49. This one is Christian Campbell for the Red Sox. 10 out of 49. I think that's our fourth Unleashed that we've had numbered today. So far in 4 boxes. That's our halfway point. What's up, Bobby? How are you? Box number 5. Good luck to yourself, my friend. Good luck to you also. We got a black laser to 39 coming. Black laser to 39 incoming. All right, box number 5. Here we go. Box number 5. Nolan Ryan on the foil. That is Bubba Chandler on the red. That is a red, 10 out of 99. We have a redemption. Here we go. Base rated prospect, optic signature. Not number. Oh, this is purple. I apologize. This is purple to 49. Purple to 49, card 111. That is Luke Keyshaw. Luke Keyshaw, Minnesota Twins. Luke Keyshaw for the Twins. Luke Keyshaw for the Twins on the purple auto to 49. That's Evan Carter. Mike Schmidt for the Phillies. That is a blue Buster Posey. Blue 124 out of 149. Christian Moore for the Angels. Jim Cott. Prince Fielder on the Blue Bomb Squad. 17 of 49. Purple. Purple 42 out of 99. That is going to the Kansas City Royals. David Shields. David Shields for the Orioles. Terry Francona on the Optichrome. Pee Wee Reese. Milestone to Trevor Hoffman. Craig Biggio. That's Colt Keith on the Optichrome. Robin Ventura. Evan Carter for Texas. Connor Griffin to 199. 18 of 199 for the Pirates. Dalton Rushing. Ian Kinsler. Green Sunburst of Tom Seaver Milestone. That is Tyson Neighbors for the Padres. Carson Williams for Tampa Bay. Austin Wells for the Yankees. That is Jackson Chourio on the green Sunburst for Milwaukee. That's James Triantos for the Cubs. Brody Breck for the Rockies. Carlos Beltran, Mets. That is Charlie Condon for the Rockies. Mike Mussina, that is 117 out of 250. 117 out of 250. Rintaro Sasaki on the foil Optichrome. Pedro Martinez. Colt Keith for Detroit. Sunburst of Ricky Henderson. Brock Wilken. Our next auto goes to the Toronto Blue Jays. That is Arjun Namala on the rated prospect auto for the Blue Jays. Arjun Namala. That is Ryan Waldschmidt for the Diamondbacks. On the orange, Cam Smith on the acetate. That's 164 of 199 on the Waldschmidt. Spencer Jones. Yadi Molina on the Sunburst. That is Caleb Lomavita on the red for Washington. 26 of 99. Colt Keith, Detroit. That's Evan Carter on the Diamond Kings for Texas. Jairo Iati for the White Sox. Tom Seaver. Alright, here's our black laser. Black laser. We got Jordan Lawler on the foil. Our black laser is for the Braves. That's Andrew Jones. 14 of 39. 14 of 39. Andrew Jones on the black laser. Jim Leland. That's Jackson Churio for Milwaukee. We have Owen Hall for Detroit. That one is 117 out of 199. Charlie Condon on the optic, and on the patch, not numbered, it is Cam Smith for Houston. Cam Smith for Houston on the Jersey King patch. Box number 6. All right, box number 6. Box number 6. Here we go. Albert Pujols, George Brett. That's Spencer Arrighetti for Houston on the foil. Mike Mussina on the green. That is 68 of 149. Randy Johnson. That is Christian Campbell on the Unleashed. Foil of Walker Jenke. That's Trey Morgan on the Optic. Ken Griffey Jr. There's Yadi Molina. That is Kendall George for the Dodgers. That one is numbered 90 out of 99. Luke Keyshaw on the Optichrome for Minnesota. Mike Schmidt for the Phillies. Alex Rodriguez for Texas. That is a sunburst of Heston Kjerstad for the Orioles. That's Spencer Jones for the Yankees. This next auto is Seaver King. Seaver King for Washington. Nice big prospect right there. That young man is a really good player. That is not numbered. Pink. Rhett Lauder to 79 for the Reds, 18 of 79. Cash Mayfield for the Padres on the acetate. Aiden Miller for the Phillies. That is Randy Johnson on the foil. Optichrome of Cliff Lee for the Phillies. Junior Caminero. Tom Seaver on the Milestones. 36 of 250. That is Robin Ventura for the White Sox. Chase Burns. Thomas Agassi for the Cardinals. Aaron Judge on the Bomb Squad. That one is numbered 168 of 199. James Wood. That is 231 of 250. Chipper Jones on the Optichrome. Cal Ripken Jr. Unleashed a Kumar Rocker. Sunburst. That one is Jake Peavy for the Padres. We got an orange Chase Burns to 199. 96 of 199 for Cincinnati. Spencer Arrighetti for the Houston Astros. Coming attraction, Bryce Eldridge for the Giants. Slade Caldwell for the Diamondbacks. 171 of 199. Kendall George for the Dodgers. Our next patch is red to 99. That is Luke Keyshaw. 36 of 99 on the red patch for the Minnesota Twins. Frank Thomas, a big hurt. That is a green sunburst of Colt Keith for the Tigers. Tink Hence on the foil for the Cardinals. Ken Caminetti for the Atlanta Braves. Bucky Dent. Brooks Robinson for the Orioles. We got Cal Ripken Jr. on the foil. Rintaro Sasaki on the cracked ice to 25. Sasaki to 25, 18 of 25. Our next autos behind that. Johnny Mize, Paul Skeens, Colt Emerson on Sunburst, Braylon Doty for Cleveland. And our last auto of box 6. It's blue signature series. This is to 35. That is Mitch Jebb. Mitch Jebb for the Pittsburgh Pirates. 27 of 35. Box number 7. All right, box number 7. There is Andrew Jones on the foil. Terry Francona, that is 16 of 79 for the Red Sox. Jace Jung. Chase Dollander. That is P.J. Morlando for Miami. Cam Smith, Houston. That is Durangelo. Johnny Bench on the red to 250. That is 48 out of 250. Cooper Pratt on the Optichrome for Milwaukee. Doc Gooden. Bobby Witt Jr. Sunburst, that's Juan Marichal for the Giants. Cash Mayfield for the Padres. Our first auto goes to the Yankees. That's Roderick Arias. Roderick Arias for the Yankees. This one is not numbered. We got orange of Brady House for the Washington Nationals. On the acetate, Kalen Culpepper for the Minnesota Twins. Dalton Rushing for the Dodgers. Dustin Pedroia, Red Sox. That is Jake Peavy on the Optichrome for the Padres. Bobby Witt Jr. Nick Kurtz on the Marvels. Bubba Chandler. Darren Baker. Albert Pujols on the green Sunburst. There's Carson Bench for the Mets. Matt Shaw for the Cubs. Luis Angel Acuna for the Mets. Cliff Lee for the Phillies. Dylan Cruz for the Nationals. Jake Bloss for Toronto. Our next auto is behind that. That is Bloss, red, 46 of 99. Next auto is Levi Sterling for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Levi Sterling for the Pirates, not numbered. Pee Wee Reese. That's James Tibbs for the Giants. Travis Bazzana on the Sunburst. Bryce Matthews for Houston. Bazzana goes to Cleveland. Jim Cott, Minnesota. We got Charlie Condon on the Unleashed to 199. Unleashed, 78 of 199. That is 58 of 199, 58 of 199. Seaver King for Washington. Juan Marichal for on the Optichrome. Evan Carter for Texas. Luis Angel Acuna. This one goes to Texas. That's Deion Sanders on the Sunburst. Deion Sanders on the purple. Purple, 19 out of 49. Austin Wells for the Yankees. Diamond Kings of Tommy White for Oakland. Ian Kinsler, Don Mattingly. That is Jim Rice to 149 for the Red Sox. 94 out of 149. Trey Yesavage for Toronto, and our next patch is Adam Wainwright. Adam Wainwright for the St. Louis Cardinals. Not numbered on the Adam Wainwright patch. Box number 8 is up next. All right, here we go. Box number 8. Box number 8, here we go. That is Ryan Braun to 79 on the pink. 8 out of 79 for Milwaukee. Bryce Rainier for Detroit on the acetate. Kirby Puckett on the milestones. Sunburst, Jim Thome. Bubba Chandler, Pirates. And then this our first auto of this box. Christian Campbell for the Red Sox on the Optichrome auto, not numbered. Spencer Argetti, Houston. Kobe Mayo, Baltimore. That's Tony Olivia to 250, 55 of 250. Jared Thomas on the Optichrome. Albert Pujols. There's Nick Kurtz. Nick Kurtz with the A's. That's a foil of Travis Bazzana for Cleveland. Cash Mayfield for the Padres. Randy Johnson for the Diamondbacks. Dalton Rushing for the Dodgers. Tim Hudson on the foil for the A's. That's Jack Leiter on the green for the Rangers. Jack Leiter, 18 out of 149. Ken Griffey Jr., Bobby Witt Jr., Carlos Beltran, 47 of 149 for the Mets. Cam Smith. Last patch of the break is Bryce Rainier for Detroit. Bryce Rainier for Detroit. This one is not numbered. Mike Schmidt. That is Aiden Miller for the Phillies on the coming attraction. Brooks Lee on the Sunburst for the Twins. That's Brandon Sprout for the Mets on the orange to 199. That is 27 of 199. Connor Norby for Miami. Gary Sheffield for the Yankees. That is 114 out of 250. That is a Junior Caminero for Tampa Bay. Carlos Beltran on the Optichrome. That's Carlos Beltran for the Mets. Tampa Bay. Frank Thomas, the Big Hurt. That is Mike Schmidt on the gold bomb squad. Sorry, it's not gold, it's red. 11 out of 99. This one throws me off every time I see the gold. It's 11 out of 99. Mike Schmidt on the red bomb squad. $15 out of 99 on the purple foil. That's Spencer Jones for the Yankees. Malcolm Moore for Texas. After this box, we'll do a full recap. Bucky Dent. We got a marvel of Matt Shaw. That's Adam Wainwright. Spencer Jones on the orange. We got a redemption behind Spencer Jones. Redemption behind Spencer Jones. We're going to leave that there and save it till the end. Johnny Mize. Unleashed of Chase Dollander for Colorado. That is Aiden Miller for the Phillies. Cooper Pratt for Milwaukee. Thomas Sagasi for St. Louis. Yachty for St. Louis on the green sunburst. That is Hagen Smith for the White Sox. 31 of 199. David Shields for Kansas City. Cal Ripken. James Wood. Last pack. And we'll do a full recap after we figure out that last auto, which is a redemption. We got Andrew Walters for Cleveland. We got Pedro Martinez on the Optichrome for the Red Sox. Spencer Jones, orange. That is 35 of 199. And our redemption. This is base rated prospect optic signatures. Card number 111. 111 was Luke Keyshaw on the last one, and it's Luke Keyshaw for the Twins again. Luke Keyshaw for the Twins. This one is not numbered. All right. Let me get everything together and then we will do a full recap. All right, here we go with the recap, guys. Thank you all for being part of the break. All right, here we go. These are to 250. We got Junior Caminero, Tony Olivia, Johnny Bench, James Wood, Robin Ventura, Mike Mussina. That's Brandon Sprout, Nolan Ryan, Colin Hawk, Buster Posey, Ethan Anderson, and Vance Honeycutt. To 199. We got Spencer Jones, Hagen Smith, Brandon Sprout, Seaver King, Charlie Condon, Brady House, Slade Caldwell, Aaron Judge, Chase Burns, Owen Hall, Ryan Waldschmidt, Connor Griffin, Leo Tavares. We got Boston Bateman, Noble Mayer, Cooper Pratt, Ivan Rodriguez, Evan Carter, Andrew Jones, Christian Moore, Connor Griffin, Chase DeLauder, Chase Burns, and Catfish Hunter. To 149. We got Carlos Beltran, Jack Leiter, Jim Rice, Mike Mussina, Buster Posey, Ian Kinsler, Deion Sanders, Heston Kerstead, Jake Arrieta, that's Caleb Lomavita, and Mike Mussina. To 99, Spencer Jones, Mike Schmidt, Jake Bloss, that is Kendall George for the Dodgers, Caleb Lomavita, David Shields, Bubba Chandler, Craig Biggio, Slade Caldwell, Charlie Condon, Hagen Smith, and Ethan Salas. What do you... The 1 to 199? Gregory, I don't know what you're talking about. If it says New York, it goes to the Mets. I don't know. I haven't gotten there yet, I guess. Ryan Braun to 79, Francona, Lauder, Schmaltz, and Skeens. These are to 49, Deion Sanders, Prince Fielder, Christian Campbell, Chipper Jones, and Chris Davis. To 39, Andrew Jones, Rintaro Sasaki to 25 with Colson Montgomery and another Rintaro Sasaki. Chase Dollander gold to 10. All right, Bryce Rainier on the acetate. Kalen Culpepper, Cash Mayfield, Cam Smith, Spencer Jones, Noble Mayer, Dalton Rushing, and J.D. Dix. Coming attractions. This one is Aiden Miller, Bryce Eldridge, and Matt Shaw. Tommy White, Diamond King, and Evan Carter, and Slade Caldwell. Debut dominance of Rhett Lauder, and greetings from Colorado with Chase Dolander. Our patches. Jersey Kings of Bryce Rainier. That is Adam Wainwright. Cam Smith, Jersey King. Malcolm Moore, Jersey King. Jersey King of Luke Keyshaw, numbered to 99. And that is Edwin Encarnacion for Toronto to 99. To 49, Malcolm Moore on the patch. Our autos. Christian Campbell for Boston. Levi Sterling. Roderick Arias. Seaver King. Arjun Namala. Carson Rucker. Wilben Francesca, Connor Griffin, and Luke Keyshaw. Those are all your non-numbered. Our numbered to 49, we got Luke Keyshaw, Ryan Clifford. This is to 35, Mitch Jebb, Ted Simmons, Jack Leiter. To 25 on the Pandora Auto, Luis Baez. Our case hit was Night Moves of Christian Moore. Our best patch and second best card, I'd say, of the break was Dylan Cruz, 8 of 25 on the 4-color patch. And our hit of the break was Paul Skeens on the auto. Paul Skeens auto. There's your break, my friends. Hope you guys hit. Hope you guys had a good time. Hope to see you next time. Probably be running this back, I believe, on Tuesday next week. So a week from today, more than likely. We'll do the other 8 boxes out of that case, and we will see you then. You guys have a great afternoon. Peace.